12 mysteries. 12 findings that make scientists pause mid-sentence and stare at their notes. Objects that shouldn't exist. Phenomena that break the rules we thought we knew. Places where our best theories crumble like ancient paper. These aren't ghost stories or internet myths. These are documented discoveries sitting in labs and museums right now, tagged and cataloged, while the smartest people on Earth scratch their heads and admit they have no idea what they're looking at. If you value documented science and unexplained mysteries like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Nature Journal and Scientific American. Now back to the story. Number 1. The Antikythera mechanism, pulled from a Roman shipwreck. Off the Greek coast in 1901. Bronze gears, 37 of them, more complex than any clockwork built for the next 1,000 years. X-rays reveal gear ratios that predict eclipses. It tracks the 4-year cycle of Olympic Games. The thing calculates planetary positions with accuracy that wouldn't be matched until the Renaissance. Who built it? The Romans didn't have this technology. The Greeks supposedly didn't either. Yet here it sits, corroded and impossible, in the National Archaeological Museum of Athens. Carbon dating puts the ship at 65 BCE. The mechanism itself could be centuries older. 1 gear tooth per day of the year, 365 bronze teeth hand-cut with precision that requires tools we can't identify. The device weighs 75 pounds in its current fragmentary state, original weight estimated at twice that. Inscription analysis reveals names of months used only in Corinth and colonies in northwest Greece. The dials predict lunar eclipses, 18 years and 11 days in advance using the Saros cycle. Modern reconstruction required computer-controlled machinery to achieve the same gear precision. The largest gear contains 223 teeth. Each tooth measures less than 1 millimeter in width. Recent CT scanning reveals text describing color variations of lunar eclipses and their mystical significance. The mechanism includes a manual explaining which athletic competitions occur during each Olympic cycle. Bronze analysis shows the metal originated from copper mines in Cyprus, mixed with tin from Cornwall. This suggests a trade network spanning the Mediterranean, specifically to acquire materials for the device. Number 2. The WOW signal, August 15, 1977. Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope picks up something that shouldn't exist. 72 seconds of pure signal from the direction of Sagittarius. Frequency 1,420.456 megahertz. Exactly where hydrogen emits in space. Exactly where no one on Earth transmits because it's protected. For astronomy, Jerry Amon circles the printout in red ink and writes, "Wow, the signal is 30 times stronger than background noise. It comes from a point in space where there are no known stars, no known planets, no known anything. Follow-up searches find nothing. The signal never repeats. The location is empty. The frequency is impossible to fake from Earth's surface. Atmospheric conditions that night ruled out terrestrial interference. No satellite in 1977 operated on that frequency. The signal's intensity suggests a transmitter with the power of our sun. Big Ear telescope operated on 2 beams separated by 2.6 minutes. The signal appeared in one beam, disappeared, then reappeared in the second beam exactly on schedule if the source was celestial. This rules out Earth-based interference. The signal strength peaked at 6 sigma above background noise. In scientific terms, that's virtually impossible as random occurrence. The exact coordinates, right ascension, 19 hours, 25 minutes, 12 seconds, declination negative, 26 degrees, 57 minutes. Multiple radio telescopes searched those coordinates for decades. Silence. Complete silence, where the strongest unidentified signal in human history once screamed across space. The signal's bandwidth was exactly 10 kilohertz, which matches the precision of Big Ear's detection channels. Natural astronomical phenomena spread across wider bandwidths. This narrow focus suggests artificial origin, targeted, precise. Gone. Number 3, the Voynich manuscript, Yale University's Beinecke Library, catalog number MS408, 240 pages of text that every cryptographer on Earth has failed to crack. Carbon dated to early 1500s, written in an alphabet no one recognizes, contains drawings of plants that don't exist on any continent, star charts that match no known constellation, naked women in bathtubs connected by pipes that make no sense. The CIA tried to decode it, the NSA tried, World War II codebreakers tried. Computer algorithms designed to crack any human language fail completely. Statistical analysis shows it has the complexity of natural language, but follows no known linguistic patterns. Word frequency distributions match human speech. Syllable patterns suggest it's not random gibberish, yet every attempt at translation produces nonsense. The parchment is real 15th century vellum. The ink chemistry matches the period. Someone spent years creating a book in a language that might not be a language at all. The text contains roughly 170,000 characters using 20 to 30 distinct symbols. Statistical analysis by the University of Manchester suggests it follows Zipf's law, which governs natural language frequency distribution. The most common word appears 8,910 times. Second most common appears 3,612 times. This pattern matches English, Latin, and every known human language, yet the symbols themselves correspond to nothing in linguistic databases containing over 6,000 documented languages past and present. Botanical illustrations show plants with multiple root systems, impossible leaf patterns, and flowering structures that violate basic botany. The astronomy section depicts celestial objects and configurations never observed from Earth. Radiocarbon dating performed in 2009 confirms parchment creation between 1404 and 1438 CE. Multispectral imaging reveals hidden text beneath the main writing, suggesting the parchment was scraped and reused. The hidden text appears to be in Latin, but only fragments remain legible. What survives mentions the great work and hidden waters beneath the earth. Number 4. The Bloop, May 19th, 1997. Hydrophones pick up a sound from the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean. Location? 50 degrees south, 100 degrees west. Point Nemo, the most remote spot on Earth. The sound registers on sensors 3,000 miles apart. Ultra-low frequency. Rising in pitch over 1 minute. Louder than any known biological source. Louder than blue whale calls by orders of magnitude. The frequency pattern suggests an animal, but no animal that size has ever existed. Computer models indicate the source would need to be larger than the biggest dinosaur. The sound comes from a depth of 4 miles. Water pressure at that depth crushes steel submarines. No known creature can survive there, let alone produce sound that carries across ocean basins. The bloop happened once, never repeated. The ocean floor shows no seismic activity that day. The hydrophone array that detected it was originally designed to monitor Soviet submarines during the Cold War. Equipment sensitive enough to hear a whale's heartbeat from 100 miles away. The bloop registered on hydrophones positioned at distances equivalent to hearing a whisper from New York while standing in Los Angeles. Frequency analysis shows the sound swept from 52 Hz to 60 Hz over approximately 1 minute. Blue whale calls max out at 20 Hz. The power required to produce the bloop would need an animal with lungs the size of aircraft hangars. Ocean acoustic modeling suggests the source measured at least 150 feet in length, moving at depths where sunlight has never penetrated. Temperature at that depth, 1 degree Celsius. Pressure, 400 times greater than at sea level. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration officially attributes the bloop to ice movement, but this explanation fails to account for the frequency characteristics and biological signature patterns detected by multiple independent monitoring stations. Something massive made that sound. Number 5. The Nazca Lines, Peru's coastal desert. Lines carved into rock that stretch for miles in perfectly straight directions. Some form animals visible only from aircraft. The spider spans 150 feet. The monkey measures 360 feet nose to tail. The hummingbird stretches 330 feet, wingtip to wingtip, created between 400 and 650 CE. Before humans could fly, the lines penetrate only 2 inches deep, but stay visible for 15 centuries because this desert gets less than 1 inch of rain per decade. Satellite analysis shows the animal figures match star constellations with mathematical precision. The Nazca people had no written language, no wheels, no iron tools, yet they created images that require aerial perspective to appreciate. Ground penetrating. Radar reveals the lines continue underground in patterns too complex to map. Some lines point to solstices, others track Venus. One arrow straight line runs 30 miles without deviating 3 feet. The plateau covers 450 square miles, contains over 300 geometric figures and 70 animal designs. Some lines stretch unbroken for 9 miles across desert terrain that includes hills, valleys, and ravines. The Nazca removed 13 million tons of dark surface stone to expose lighter soil beneath. No evidence exists of scaffolding, surveying equipment, or planning drawings. The desert surface hasn't changed in 800 years according to Spanish colonial records. Wind erosion should have erased surface scratchings within decades, yet the lines remain sharp-edged and clearly defined. Recent discoveries using satellite imaging reveal over 100 previously unknown geoglyphs. Carbon dating of wooden posts found at line intersections confirms construction dates, but raises new questions about preservation. In a region where wood normally decays within decades, some geoglyphs are positioned on hillsides and mountain slopes, visible only from specific aerial angles that require flight paths passing directly overhead at precise altitudes. If you value documented science and unexplained mysteries like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Nature Journal and Scientific American. Now, back to the story. Number 6. Ball lightning. Eyewitness accounts span centuries. Glowing spheres that pass through solid walls. They hover, they dance, they explode without warning. In 1963, a commercial airliner flying over New York encounters a basketball-sized sphere of light. It enters through the nose, travels the length of the cabin, and exits through the tail without damaging the aircraft. Passengers describe it as silent, bright white, and moving with purpose. Military pilots report similar encounters. Laboratory experiments create plasma balls that last seconds. Witnessed ball lightning persists for minutes. The energy requirements don't match any known physics. Plasma needs constant power input to maintain coherence. Ball lightning appears to generate its own power source. It interacts with magnetic fields in ways that violate thermodynamics. Temperature readings show it burns at 10,000 degrees Celsius but doesn't heat surrounding air. Video footage from security cameras captures spheres moving against wind direction, suggesting internal propulsion. The phenomenon occurs most frequently during thunderstorms, but appears in clear weather conditions 30% of the time. Diameter ranges from golf ball to beach ball size. Duration varies from 2 seconds to 5 minutes. Some spheres bounce off surfaces like rubber balls. Others pass through glass and metal without leaving marks. Energy output calculations suggest each sphere contains enough power to light a city block for several hours, yet they cause no electromagnetic interference with electronic equipment. Russian researchers in Siberia claim to have created artificial ball lightning using microwave generators, but their spheres last only milliseconds and require continuous power input measured in megawatts. Impossible, documented, unexplained. Number 7. The Taos Hum, Taos, New Mexico. Population 5,600. Since the 1990s, residents report a persistent low-frequency hum. Only 2% of the population hears it. Always the same frequency, 32 hertz. Too low for most humans to detect consciously, but loud enough to cause insomnia, headaches, and anxiety in sensitive individuals. Congressional investigations find no source. Seismic monitoring detects no ground vibration. Audio equipment placed throughout the town records nothing. Yet the affected residents describe identical symptoms and identical sound characteristics. The hum is strongest at night. It disappears during power outages, suggesting an electrical source. But shutting down the entire power grid doesn't stop. Natural gas pipelines, military bases, and cellular towers are ruled out as sources. Geological surveys find no underground cavities that could amplify sound. The hum affects people in different neighborhoods randomly, with no geographic pattern. University of New Mexico researchers spent 3 years monitoring the town with equipment sensitive enough to detect earthquakes in Japan. They found no acoustic signatures matching resident reports. Yet polygraph tests confirm the affected residents genuinely experience the sensations they describe. Medical examinations reveal no hearing abnormalities in the affected population. Brain scans show identical patterns of activity in the auditory cortex during episodes, suggesting a real stimulus that conventional instruments cannot detect. Similar hums reported in Windsor, Ontario, Bristol, England, and Kokomo. Indiana follow identical patterns with the same frequency signature and population percentages. Number 8. The Shroud of Turin. Linen cloth measuring 14 feet by 3 feet. Bears the image of a crucified man. Carbon dating from 1988 suggests medieval origin, 13th to 14th century. But the image formation mechanism baffles material scientists. It's not paint, dye, or stain. Electron microscopy shows no pigment particles. The image exists only in the topmost fibers, each no thicker than bacterial cell walls. The coloration penetrates less than 1/millionth of an inch deep. Attempts to replicate the image using medieval techniques fail. Modern laser technology can create similar superficial scorching, but requires equipment that wouldn't be invented for 7 centuries. 3-dimensional analysis reveals anatomically correct body proportions with accurate crucifixion wounds. The bloodstains test positive for human hemoglobin. Pollen samples contain species native to ancient Palestine. The weave pattern matches 1st-century Palestinian textiles found in Masada excavations. The image is thermally stable at temperatures up to 300 degrees Celsius, yet shows no signs of thermal formation. Chemical analysis reveals no binding agents that would preserve organic dyes for 7 centuries. The cloth contains traces of limestone chemically identical to Jerusalem quarry samples. Forensic examination of the apparent wounds shows blood flow patterns consistent with crucifixion position changes over several hours. The image appears on only one side of the cloth, with no penetration to the reverse side, defying conventional image formation theories. Recent studies using VP8 image analyzer software reveal the image contains 3-dimensional spatial information encoded in intensity variations, a characteristic impossible to achieve with medieval painting techniques. Science versus faith. Both sides claim victory. Number 9. The Devil's Kettle. Judge C.R. Magny State Park, Minnesota. The Brule River splits around a rocky island. Half continues downstream. Half disappears into a pothole that drops 50 feet and vanishes underground. Hydrologists pour dye into the kettle. The dye never emerges downstream. They drop ping-pong balls by the thousands. None surface in Lake Superior 8 miles away. They inject harmless radioactive tracers. No radiation appears in surrounding water systems. The missing water volume equals millions of gallons annually. It must go somewhere. Underground river systems don't exist in this geology. The bedrock is billion-year-old rhyolite, impermeable to water. Sonar mapping reveals no caverns large enough to accommodate the flow. The pothole appears bottomless, but Minnesota sits on granite bedrock. Water that enters the Devil's Kettle simply disappears from the hydrological cycle without explanation. Flow measurements show exactly half the river's volume vanishes at the split. During spring floods, the disappearing portion increases proportionally, maintaining the 50% ratio regardless of total water volume. Professional divers using mixed gas breathing apparatus reached depths of 130 feet before hitting restriction too narrow for human passage. Underwater cameras lowered on cables show the shaft continues beyond the range of artificial lighting. Temperature readings from the depths show water 4 degrees colder than surface temperature, indicating the disappeared water isn't mixing with groundwater tables. Geological surveys using ground-penetrating radar detect no underground caverns within a 5-mile radius of the kettle. Number 10, the Hessdalen Lights. Hessdalen Valley, Norway. Population 150. Since the 1940s, residents report unexplained lights that appear several times per week. The lights hover motionless for hours or accelerate instantly to impossible speeds. They pulse, they change colors, they respond to human presence by dimming or brightening. Automatic cameras capture them regularly. Radar tracks objects with no corresponding visual signature. Magnetometer readings spike during sightings. The lights emit electromagnetic radiation across multiple frequencies. Some appear as single points, others as structured craft with defined edges. They demonstrate behaviors that violate known aerodynamics. 90-degree turns at high speed, hovering without visible means of support, passing through solid matter. Norwegian government research stations monitor the valley continuously. Data shows the phenomena are real and measurable, but unexplainable. The lights appear regardless of weather conditions, season, or time of day. The phenomena peak during autumn months when geomagnetic activity increases. Spectroscopic analysis reveals the lights emit wavelengths consistent with ionized atmospheric gases, but at intensities requiring energy sources equivalent to lightning strikes. Some lights maintain constant brightness for over 2 hours without apparent power source. Motion analysis shows acceleration rates up to 30 g-forces, which would liquefy any known aircraft or biological entity. The lights appear most frequently between 6 p.m. and 1 a.m. Infrared imaging detects no heat signatures, despite visible light emission. Radio frequency monitoring during sightings reveals no electromagnetic signatures typical of conventional aircraft or atmospheric phenomena. 40 years of documentation, 0 scientific explanations. Number 11, the Moving Stones of Death Valley. Racetrack, Playa, California. Boulders weighing up to 700 pounds slide across the desert floor, leaving perfectly straight trails behind them. Some trails stretch for half a mile. The rocks move at night when no one watches. They stop in positions that seem random but create geometric patterns visible from aircraft. Time-lapse photography installed in 2014 finally captures the phenomenon. On rare mornings when overnight temperatures drop below freezing, a thin sheet of ice forms over standing water. As the sun rises, the ice breaks into floating panels, pushed by light winds. These ice rafts, each only millimeters thick, push the enormous stones at speeds up to 15 feet per minute. But this explanation only works for the lightest rocks. The heaviest boulders require forces that exceed wind and ice calculations by factors of 10. Some stones move uphill, others change direction multiple times, creating zigzag patterns impossible with simple ice pushing. Trail analysis shows some rocks traveled in perfect straight lines for over 800 feet without deviation, suggesting guidance mechanisms beyond natural wind patterns. The playa receives water only during rare flash floods, sometimes years apart, yet rock movement occurs during dry periods with no surface water present. Geological surveys reveal the trails are carved into hardpan clay that requires significant pressure to penetrate. The deepest trails measure 4 inches into substrate that resists pickaxe penetration when dry. Some trails show parallel grooves, suggesting the moving rocks rotated during transport. GPS tracking of individual stones shows they remain stationary for years, then move hundreds of feet in single-night events. Meteorological data from the playa shows no correlation between rock movement and wind speed, direction, or duration. Number 12, the Longyu Caves, Zhejiang Province, China. 24 artificial caverns carved from solid sandstone. Discovered in 1992 when a local resident pumped water from what he thought was a natural pond. The caves span 800,000 cubic feet of carved space, chisel. Marks show systematic excavation that removed nearly 1 million tons of rock. No historical records mention their construction. No debris piles exist nearby. The removed stone simply vanished. Each cave features identical architectural elements: angled pillars, carved steps, precise room dimensions. The construction required decades of work by hundreds of people. Yet no tools, no pottery, no human remains found inside. The caves are perfectly dry despite sitting below the water table. Structural engineers can't explain how the carved pillars support the weight above without cracking. The chamber walls show no signs of reinforcement, yet bear loads that should cause collapse. Dating techniques place construction at least 2,000 years ago, but possibly much older. The main chambers measure up to 100 feet long, 60 feet wide, and 30 feet high. Pillar angles match precisely between separate caves, suggesting coordination across multiple work sites. Chisel marks indicate tools with cutting edges, exactly 1.4 inches wide, used consistently throughout all chambers. The caverns maintained constant temperature of 68 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, regardless of surface weather conditions. Air circulation systems built into the cave designed create natural ventilation that prevents carbon dioxide buildup. Water drainage channels carved into the floors direct groundwater seepage to collection points, keeping the interior spaces completely dry. Carbon dating of organic material found in tool marks dates the carving to between 740 and 700 BCE during China's spring and autumn period. Historical records from that era mention no large-scale construction projects in the region. Recent excavations beneath the caves reveal a 14th chamber, this one different from the others, walls covered in symbols that match no known Chinese writing system. Stone furniture arranged around a central platform that shows signs of intense heat exposure. Chemical analysis of the platform reveals trace elements that don't exist naturally in the region's geology. The symbols appear to be instructions, written in an extinct language, describing a process that modern science can't identify. The chamber's purpose remains locked in stone, coded in a script that died with its creators, preserving secrets we're not yet smart enough to understand. 12 mysteries. 12 admissions that human knowledge has limits we haven't reached yet.